Hello, everybody. My name's James, and welcome to the Planet FPL Gameweek 30 Deadline stream in partnership with FPL Team. And it's live. We are 57 minutes away from the Gameweek 30 deadline. A reminder, FPL Team is your best stop for all your future FPL planning, particularly important coming up into blank and double season. For those joining along live or even watching back on the stream, smash a like, hit the sub button. It's truly appreciated. I'll try and cover as many of your questions as I can before the 1:30 p.m. UK deadline. Before I do, let me take you through some graphics on screen because that will answer many of your questions. I'm bust this week. Rolling is the intention to 2 free transfers. Team is Kelleher, Hill, Van Dijk, Gabriel, Wilson, Bruno Fernandes is vice captain, Antoine Semenyo, Dango Utara, Igor Thiago, Erling Haaland, and Hugo Ekitike captain. In reserve for Bruggen, Rogers, Joachim Anderson, and Malik Chow. Under a circumstance where there is clarity in the next 55 minutes that Erling Haaland is not starting for Manchester City, and I think that he probably will, then João Pedro is very much under consideration for me, but only under a circumstance of clarity. Similarly with Antoine Semenyo, I suspect that he may not start for Manchester City today. That's just a prediction of mine, but I'm not prepared to go against that unless there's some clarity. Matthias Cunha and Florian Wirtz are both under consideration under an eventuality of clarity. I'm not expecting any between now and deadline, therefore I anticipate rolling through this game week. Bottom right hand corner, you'll see my predicted lineups, including that City one, for all 20 teams. I have managed to somehow come up with 11 names that I think might play for Tottenham. To the left of me, you'll see my correct score predictions for the games this week. I've gone conservative with Liverpool, just the 4 goals expected. And you'll see my preferences in terms of captaincy there as well. It is Ekitike clear top of the shops for me. Yes, even over Salah. Under a position of having Salah and not Ekitike, I probably would gamble with Mo. Then Fernandes, Haaland, João Pedro, Thiago, Saka, Palmer, Wirtz, and Semenyo is quite low because, as I said, I think there's a half a chance that he may be benched today. Those are my top 10 in terms of order of preference for captaincy. Bottom ticker will have next 5 fixtures for all teams as it stands and all the flag players. Above that and directly below me are the bench in dilemmas where there are 2 players together. The player with the tick is the preferred option to start. From those players, they run in order, left to right, pages 1 through to 4 in order. You will find some goalkeepers on page 5 of that graphic. Right, that is the spiel done. As always, a reminder, everybody, play it your way. Very best of luck. I will do my best to try and get to your questions. However, a little bit of a note here. For many of you, the right answer will be to roll. Let's do this. Vivek Gore says, hi James, bench 2 from Nico O'Reilly, Virgil van Dijk, Hill, Gabriel, Timber, Sarr, Rogers, Wilson. Reluctantly on that, I'm going to say Nico O'Reilly and probably Morgan Rogers. Dragon Josiowski says on 2 free transfers, not sure what to do. 1, Haaland and Rice to Ekitike and Salah. 2, Rice to Wirtz / Szoboszlai, or 3, roll. Wildcard bench boost, free hit left. Cheers. Under that circumstance, my genuine advice would be to consider going Haaland to Ekitike and not making the other move. Just leave it be, because under a circumstance where City then did eventually, say, play in 31 or 32, then it's quite straightforward to get him back. And I'd prefer that rather than spending all the money at the moment. But yeah, I wouldn't want to be without Ekitike this week. As it stands, he's obviously going to outscore Haaland next week as well. I think it's worthwhile, but I wouldn't make the second move at this moment. Jason Stillin says, Semenyo and Haaland, Salah and Ekitike. Thanks, James, as just answered for the previous question. Adam Sturden says, start for Bruggen over Dubravka. Yes. Start Ballard over Hill. No. Might weirdly start both for Bruggen and Ballard, given the former could get save points, latter could get DEFCON and a goal. Yeah, that also applies to Hill. J23 says, play Dewsbury Hall or Krupe. With the fixture, I would gamble Krupe. He's not in my predicted Bournemouth lineup, but I would still gamble him. Gianco Zamboni says, hi, James, need to bench one of Alderete, Wilson, Rogers, Timber. Would your answer be different if I wanted the highest floor? Thanks and good luck. No, answer would be Alderete, mate. Simon Baker says, James, forget Hugo. It's all about Alex Scott this week, isn't it? P.S. Tell Robbie Gaston to roll. Robbie Gaston, roll, mate. Rory Max says, best Brentford defender to buy. If money is no object, I'm pretty confident with the Rico Henry injury that Nathan Collins will now start playing again. If you want the added security, because you're a little concerned about that, I would go Vandenberg. Simon B says, hi mate, play one of Wilson, Stack or Hill. I would gamble Harry Wilson. There's no guarantee he starts, but I'd gamble it as I'm doing myself. Jedi7 says, which one of Verts or Tavernier to buy this game week? I think it depends on your strategy. So the reason for me not so much Tavernier is I'm highly likely to be running through game week 32 as someone who's obviously used the bench boost. So for those with it left, you're probably dead end into 31, in which case Tavernier I think actually appeals just as much as the others, in which case I'd arguably prefer him. What I don't want to end up with is Tavernier away to Arsenal and Harry Wilson away to Liverpool in 32. So that's why I'm a little put off by him personally. But for most others, yeah, I actually prefer Tavernier. Next up is Aaron Hill. Hi, James. Not really looked at my team since last game. Bench Rodgers or Krupi. Sorry if it's on the benching dilemmas. Thanks for the best. They are both on the benching dilemmas, mate. I actually prefer Krupi despite what I said. Will Mercer says, hi James, thoughts on starting Alderete, Wilson on Munoz or Rodgers, benching the other three? Thanks, mate. So one to start from all that. Honestly, I would gamble Harry Wilson, still the same. Randy Mann says, Rice to Tavernier this week, given it would take me to a full 11 for 31 plus Burnley fixture this week. Rice obviously has a good fixture this week too. Is it one to leave for 31 or just get done? I'd leave it. Yeah. Daj J says, afternoon, James. Would you say a bench of Kelleher, Raya, other goalkeeper, Maguire, Enzo and Gordon is good enough to bench boost? Thinking players like Ekiteke, Pedro, Semenyo could get 1 pointers this week. Yeah, that's the problem. A concern under a circumstance of something like Semenyo being benched is if City are in a good position in the game as well, he may not get on the pitch. Then you're down to 3 on your bench. I would expect the others to play. Kelleher, good under that circumstance. I have seen, by the way, a post knocking about from David Raya's missus about baby being very due. I'm just saying. I got shafted with that with Kelleher a few weeks ago. I mean, look, it's a good bench, mate. I would imagine Anthony Gordon starts as having not started in midweek. If you want to go for it, go for it. But you've got to have full confidence in that 11, mate. David Tillstone says, afternoon, James, looking at Guru and Rice to Thiago and Tavernier for free, a 5-3 transfers. Own Haaland, Ekiteke already. My other mids are Wilson, Bruno, Cunha and Rodgers. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I mean, Goo's got to get dealt with, isn't it? So, yeah. Gavin Richardson says, hey, James, so for potential wildcard 32/35, basically do now until FA Cup quarter-final results. Also need to replace Dorgu for blank 31. VVD Hill, Alderete ready, Fulham defender. Yeah, that said, Joachim Anderson, does he start? Probably. But no real clarity in that. And if he doesn't this week, what are you going to do next week? Replace him again before he plays Burnley? I personally, with that, in a situation where you've got VVD, Hill, Alderete, I think that's all okay this week. I'd probably just proceed and do now for the minute. Yeah, that you'll need to deal with next week. JP Zizou says, sell Dallo or Mukiele for VVD. I think it's Mukiele at this moment, mate. No guarantee he'll be back next week. Delicious Lemon Sauce says, hi James, if we got a leak Haaland was bench, what would you do? I would buy João Pedro. Yeah, but it's got to be with clarity. If it's strongly rumoured, I'm not doing it. KL says, smash the like people. Hi James, who would you captain with expected minutes in mind? Haaland, Bruno or Thiago? Thanks from that lot, Bruno. Amanda Bergen says, hi James, would you risk a bench boost this week with Joachim Anderson of Fulham, Harry Wilson, Hill? No. If not, would you play Hill over O'Reilly? Yes, actually, just because of the potential benching risk to O'Reilly. I do think he probably starts and in midfield, actually. But, yeah, I would go with Hill. Ken Hughes says, hi, James. Bench one of Rodgers, Dango, Wilson, Raul Jimenez. Would you captain Tav over Bruno and Thiago? No to the last bit. I'd bench Rodgers. HA says, hi, James. How close is the decision between captain Ekiteke or Bruno? And do you have any doubts on Ekiteke's minutes? Not close. No. No. I think even if Ekiteke is a sub, he'd probably bury us in the last half hour, mate. Greg says, hi, James. Bench one of Thiago, Tavernier, Haaland, João Pedro, Bruno, Bumo, Semenyo and Verts. From that lot, jeez. I'm just trying to work out the numbers that you got. Three forwards there. Sorry, just having it been in the middle threw me a little bit. God, it's rough that. Jeez, it's not great, mate. Well, I mean, it is very good. Wow. Maybe Verts. Verts or Tavernier, maybe. Yeah, not great. Well, I mean, very great, but not great dilemma. Kofkan says, hi, James. Hope you're doing well. My front eight are Bruno, Bumo, Semenyo, Rice, Szoboszlai, Kiteke, Thiago, João Pedro. Who should I bench? Okay, we've got a familiar theme here going on. Similar answer. I mean, if I said Verts on the last one, I'd very reluctantly Szoboszlai. Colin Johnson, morning, mate. Is Haaland out for Pedro? 1-3, a mobile chat with blank and what? And Haaland fixtures ahead plus Chelsea chances going on in Cup. Is that Chat GPT or something, mate? AI speak. I'm not sure what you asked me. Is it Haaland to Pedro? For me, I'd just leave it be. JP Zizou start Hill or Dango. Bobby says, hi, mate. Start 1, Vandenberg, Anderson, Alderete, and start 2 from Rogers, Krupi, Anderson, and Wilson. Definitely Wilson. I'd gamble Krupi because of the fixture. It's just a personal view. In terms of the others, Vandenberg's got the best of the fixtures there, so I'd be starting him. By the way, a shout out to our patrons watching along live. Thanks as always for your continued support. If we do have anything in terms of potential team leaks or team news, perhaps for the 3 PMs, do drop me a tag on Slack. Definitely not expecting anything considering the 4 teams are playing at 3 o'clock. Gavin Richardson says, have people started to bring popcorn into work yet? What's your favourite flavour of popcorn? And are you already feeling the forest butterflies? I'm a sweet popcorn kind of guy, mate. Am I feeling the forest butterflies? No, I'm feeling the Tottenham butterflies, mate. I'm not. Tottenham need to do their business, right? Forest and West Ham are going to pick up points. I know that. Andy Max says, morning, mate. Would you start Tav or Enzo? Cheers, buddy. Tav. AG says, hi, James. Would you do Munoz to Robinson or Anderson? Definitely not Robinson. Not sure about the minutes or roll the free transfer. It's easy roll. I'm sure Munoz will probably play, mate. Your cover is fine as well. Birth Media says, Jimbo, how's it? Rogers and Reynildo out. Tavernier and Virgil in. Rate it out of 10, please. Thanks. All right. Yeah, pretty decent. Sort of 7-ish or so. Not sure if I'd force it. It's the truth. I don't know what your problems are potentially rolling into 31. But on the face of it, yeah, the 2-3s are fine, mate. LP says, hi, James. Would you play Richards or Aina over Hill or Wilson this week? Cheers. No, I wouldn't. Gavin says, what is more likely? The board will sack Tudor after 17 minutes to the Liverpool game, or you get to 30% likes on the stream? I mean, I'd like to think it's probably 30% likes to the stream, of which, yeah, it's about 20% so far, guys. It doesn't cost anything. Smash a like, please. Daniel Mackey says, do you think the FPL community overthinks conflictions between assets? Having a forward and defender playing against each other can be a good way to hedge your bets sometimes. Yes, that's true, Daniel. Also doesn't maximise your possibilities in most scenarios. In a scenario where you've got a defender playing against a forward, what's the best case scenario? Well, the best case scenario is to both score. That's the best case scenario. If you have a defender and a forward from the same team, well, okay, potentially looking at more, aren't we? So, do I think the community overthinks? Not for me to speak about what the community overthinks, but I would certainly prefer rather to have players on an all-in strategy rather than one playing against each other. Sometimes it's unavoidable, obviously, particularly with goalkeepers. I'm not stressed about it too much. Stefan P says, hi, James. Who would you buy, Tavernier or Elliot Anderson? Or if I was buying one, Tavernier. Eric Blanc says, Haaland to Ekiteke for free. I don't mind it, particularly if you don't have any other Liverpool attack. Jerry Tommy Hughes says, hello, Jimbo. Would you start Pickford or Dubravka? And Pickford or Dubravka? I mean, a chance. Dubravka, I can't see Pickford keep a clean sheet. And Munoz or Alderete? Definitely Munoz. I did Krupi to João Pedro, my only free transfer. 7.2 in the bank since João Pedro passed the eye. And stat test plus chase 100k without Erling. I wish you luck. Kay Lankin says, hi, James. Could a compromise between your Southgate shout and the media call for Redknapp be Jurgen Klinsmann? Tottenham legend who did a decent job for Germany in difficult times. Yeah, that decent job for Germany was checks notes 20 years ago. Didn't need to check notes, I know that. 20 years ago. Strong no, mate. Strong no. Game has evolved so much since Jurgen Klinsmann last managed. Gazman says, hi, James. Good luck as always. Done Munoz to VVD. If we get late benching news, thoughts on Haaland to Sesko. Would leave one free transfer to give me 11 next week. Thanks, mate. No from me. At the moment, ultimately, you need clarity on next week. And what's to say for sure that Ahmad doesn't come back in the team for Sesko tomorrow? I don't think he will. But I just think there are alternatives that I wouldn't go to. So, Thiago, Ekiteke, João Pedro, under that scenario, all favoured over Sesko at this moment. Stuart Day, sorry, I nearly called you Saturday, Stuart. Sorry. Hi, James. I'm going to roll this week into 5 free transfers for the blank. Good luck. Smash a like, people. Nicely done, Stuart. Good luck. Tanky says, Watkins to Krupi worth it. Would take a -8 in game 31 to field 11. then clearly no. Jack B says, I'm on a free hit 33, wildcard 34/35 strategy, and already owning Ekiteke and Thiago. Would you buy Pedro or Bowen this week? Under that strategy, definitely João Pedro. Sam Barnard says, free transfers, Palmer, Haaland, Cherky, João Pedro, owner. Roll and stomach it on move and get something like Wirtz, Sesko and Bruno in now. Not got Bruno, no. I'd be willing to deal with that pretty quickly. But I'd been willing to deal with that pretty quickly about 5 game weeks ago. I think it's stomach it, mate. Almost Seko says, Lewis Miley will need to be sold next week, but surely we're not doing him to Szoboszlai or Tavernier this week if it meant benching Rice or Rayan. There's a chance Lewis Miley might be back for next week. He's hoping to be involved for the trip to Barcelona in midweek, and if he is, I wouldn't rule out the possibility of him starting against Sunderland next week. Battle Power says, what are everyone's thoughts on Haaland? Is it just better to bin? The consciousness here has to be, and this is what I understand people when to sell him. You have to ask yourself, there's more information this time next week, or let's say Friday, because the deadline will be Friday. There'll be more information in terms of City and Palace's results in Europe. If they both lose, there's a potential panic scenario here for anyone that sells Haaland. Okay, now for what it's worth, I still think Palace particularly will go through, right? Which would block the possibility of City Palace going into 31-32. But if it's open, if those weeks are open, there is every chance, guys, this is going to happen. Every chance. I would favour probably 32. Now, for many of you, that will mean wildcarding, and perhaps not a problem. But it may also be a problem then if Liverpool beat Manchester City and City then don't double in 33. And they've got a double 32 and a fixture 34. What are you doing with them City assets for just a single against Arsenal in 33 when you've obviously trebled up on them? That is just something to think about at this moment, okay? Particularly, I think, for people like me who may have to run through 32, it makes more sense at the moment to seek more information. For those of you who are absolutely committed to wildcarding in 32, he's an easier sell, clearly. We're just talking about 30 and 31. But I will warn again what I warned not on the Chip Strategy podcast this week, but the one that we recorded previously 3 or 4 weeks before. Be very prepared to pivot from dead end 31 to dead end 32. That could be a possibility, particularly if we only say have 4 teams doubling maybe in 33. There may be a case there that you need to pivot. And I'd consider that. Okay, so if you're absolutely sure you want to bid him, his returns have been not great. I don't think João Pedro, for example, is a certain starter. Someone's already asked me, are you confident in Ekiteke's minutes this week? Thiago, you'd be confident in terms of minutes. I'm not sure I'd be running from Haaland to Thiago at this stage. So I'm just asking people to think. If people want to proceed and do it, but by all means, do it. It's always play it your way, but just be aware of the risk involved. That you need to ask yourself, what will you do under a circumstance where you sell him? Let's say you shift the money. This is why I said to someone earlier, just make the one move. Don't bring Salah in as well. What do you do under a circumstance? We go, right, I'll go Haaland to Ekiteke now, and then whoever in midfield up to Salah. And then next Friday afternoon, it's, City Palace is going back into 31. Then what? Hours before a deadline. I'm just asking, it's unlikely, it's very unlikely, but I'm just asking people to think about what they would do under that scenario, right? Because under that scenario, Haaland's the best captain in 31. Then what? That's all. Next up is Kazad says, hi, James. Do you think Mateta will hold on to a starting place after he's fit, say after the international break? We can't hold on to something that he hasn't got. I was very impressed with Jurgen Strand-Larsen at Tottenham last week. Yeah, I don't particularly see Mateta forcing his way back in with any urgency, actually. CMP says, hi, James. Risk playing Harry Wilson or do Dewsbury Hall to Tavernier and bench Wilson? I would just take the risk, mate. Afternoon, James. This is from Ross Mitchell. Says start two of Gay, Chalobah and Hill. I'd go Gay over Chalobah. I think under Gay would probably be one of the more likely ones just to keep playing for City. If he didn't, strong possibility he wouldn't come off the bench. So for me, Gay, Hill on that, mate. Ryan Quinn, my friend, says, morning, James. Do Van Dijk and Tavernier score 4 more points than O'Reilly and Rayan over the next 2 game weeks? Probably, yes. You're looking for some reason to make the transfer, yeah? I don't know if you need to go down from Rayan to Tavernier to go Van Dijk in for O'Reilly. Not sure I'd force it, mate. FPL Glasto says, will Spurs score today? Absolutely no chance, mate. Tomorrow? Who knows? Cal says, hi, James. Do you think Haaland and Semenyo out to Salah and Ekiteke? Captain's that is too risky, 2 free transfers. Chasing rank, have Thiago, Palmer, Wilson, Bruno, Boomer up front, all chips intact except triple captain. So, same thing. I'll repeat here. Under that circumstance, if you want to go Haaland to Ekiteke, do it. I wouldn't do the second one. Unless there was something clarity coming up now that said, right, you know what, they're both benched today in the next half hour or so. Don't do the second one because, again, under your circumstance, right, you're using the 2 free transfers. Oh, shit, I need to get Haaland back, etc. And you ain't going to want to bin sat. You're not doing it. So if you want to just take him on and you say, yeah, if this happens, I'm still going to take him on. Cool. Be my guest. But if you're not sure of that, it's don't do it. If you want to go just Haaland to Ekiteke, I believe Ekiteke is a better option than Haaland this week. I believe Ekiteke is a better option than 31. And if you're actually carrying further, I believe Ekiteke is a better option than Haaland in 32. As it stands. Should City get a fixture added back to 31 or 32, that changes. Uros Milicevic says, hi, James. Would you sell Lacroix to Van Dijk this game week or roll to have 3 free transfers next game week? I'd roll. Lacroix will certainly play for Palace. Steamroller says, start Croupier, Wilson. Jake says, who would be your main targets for each position this week? For me personally, João Pedro. There's an unlikely circumstance where I'd just go bollocks, I'm going Cunha or Verts at some point in the next half hour. That's only under a circumstance where, oh my God, it's clear that Semenyo is not starting for City. Defensively, Liverpool or Bournemouth players, I think. Goalkeeper, just don't piss about with. If you got something, continue. Mouse says, hi, James. Have 5 free transfers. Who shall I sell between Timber, Richards, Keane or Haaland? I own Ekiteke and Thiago. Keane into Hill if you haven't got. Charlie Edwards says 2 at 3, 0.7 in the bank. Alderete and Rice to VVD and Tavernier. Gets me the 11th player for 31 and improves Alderete too. Yeah, I think Sunderland might have a difficult day today, but again, I'm not sure that I'd force that personally. These are moves that can potentially be done next week, mate. Peter says, good luck, James. Thanks for the content. You're very welcome. Thank you. Swiss Wavy says, hi all. Would you bench boost Petrovic, Krupi, Rogers and Hall? Thumbs, folks. Nope. Not for me. I wouldn't be surprised actually if Lewis Hall is rotated for Newcastle later today. Just thinking about Newcastle, wanting to be careful with him. And he was absolutely outstanding against Jamal. He's definitely going to play against him again in midweek. So that'd be a strong no from me. I think that there's serious risk in that personally. Next up is PKH. Hi, James. Would you bench Dango or Tavernier? With extreme reluctance, Tavernier, mate. 119 Jake says, what chance do you give Haaland of starting by percentage? 75, 80, something like that. That's the likelihood is he plays, right? That's the most likely scenario in my opinion. Sam says, hi James, chasing mini league, 50 points back and considering Haaland and Enzo out for Salah and Ekiteke, wildcard 24 and can navigate both blanks whilst free hit 33. So you can navigate, okay, right, you're saying so free hit 33. again, I'm only going to be repeating what I said to others, isn't it? So, how do you feel under the circumstance of something changes with the City Palace fixture? That's what you have to ask yourself. W Adventures says, thoughts on Frimpong? Wouldn't go near it, mate. There's not a reason to pick him over Van Dijk, in my opinion. I'm not even sure there's a reason to pick him over Canate. Leet Cruz says, hey, would you do Rice to Verts this week? Or play him this week and then move in someone like Gordon next week? Thanks. Yeah, roll. Vertica says, hey, James, bench Harry Wilson and Dyer or DCL, mate, and Dyer on the fixtures. Blue Mind says, with latest 5 Spurs players out, has the match reached a threshold where slots rotation makes owning multiple assets from Ekiteke, Salah, Verts and Szoboszlai a disadvantage rather than advantage? Look, my view is Liverpool played in Turkey on Tuesday. The game's not till tomorrow. It's a 5-day turnaround. I don't think it's going to piss about with the team too much. Ben Edinson says, how come Wilson is so high on your bench in dilemmas? Because I think he starts, mate. Stat. John Smith says, how highly do you think Bernardo Silva will be remembered if he leaves at the end of the season? Won it all and been a key for Pep, but not a Prem legend as other players in those teams seem to have put. Yeah, wonderful, wonderful player, mate. Wonderful player. He doesn't catch the eye as like a De Bruyne and stuff like that, right? Doesn't have the output of goals that maybe people want or assists. Yeah, brilliant footballer. I spoke really highly of him despite City's defeat yesterday on the weekender in terms of the multiple things he was having to do both on and off the ball for Manchester City. Yeah, brilliant player. MG Bakit says, good morning, James. Have 2 threes. Sell Haaland and Rice for João Pedro and Salah and Cap Mo. Worth it? For me, no. Cole Sliffer, thanks for the benching dilemmas. Have a great weekend. You too. Bobby says, would you do Semenyo and Haaland to Ekiteke and Mo for a hit? No. Scully plays says, take -4 to do Munoz and Krupi to VVD and Ekiteke. No. I mean, if you can go Krupi to Ekiteke in one move, I'd just do that. I'm not sure if you... Yeah, you're not going to need the other one to... I think Munoz will play, mate. Matthias says, bench boost with Dubravka, Rogers, Bowen and Murillo. I mean, minutes-wise, they're good. There's no doubt about that. You'd be surprised not to get sort of close to 360 minutes from that bench. Consequence, again, what's happening in your 11? Are there any risks in there? I don't mind it. I don't mind it. PK says, hi, James. Play one of Dallo, Joachim Anderson or Rodon. I think Dallo will come back into the United team. So slight preference with that. Joel Rugman says, hey, James, thoughts on starting Verts versus Bowen? Verts. And Timber versus Hill? Timber. Or bench boost the losers alongside Dubravka and Chalobah. I guess Chalobah is a small risk. Small risk. I think he'll play, but small risk. That would put me off. Probably not a good idea, says Iwobi or Enzo. Thanks, Enzo. Custard Cream says play Ballard or Krupi. I would chance Krupi. Yeah, I think it's the old one I use a lot. It's like, what would I not forgive myself? I'll go Krupi up. Oh, bollocks, he's benched. Or I bench Krupi and he's playing against the second worst team in the league. And I'm not calling Wolves the worst, by the way. I would want to play Krupi. NMSWFC says, hey up James, start Gakpo or Rogers. General opinion on Gakpo, is he a sell? Look, there's a chance. I know there's listening to sort of a lot of our Liverpool fans chat on Slack, and they think that there's a decent chance Verts won't start. It's just opinion-based stuff. And therefore Gakpo will, saying didn't quite look at his best on Tuesday night. But my view is probably play him into rediscovering himself. Might be the best way to go. I think if I own Gakpo, I'd just play it. Again, another one. He'll get 20 minutes at the end, even if he doesn't start. And God knows what the score will look like at that stage, mate. So he might still have some joy. I'd play Gakpo. Next up is Luke Stevenson. Hi, James. Who should I bench between Canate, Timber and Senesi? Canate, truthfully. He's Haaland out to Ekiteke. Worth the transfer. If I only have 1 transfer, but got 7 attackers for 31 already on wildcard 32. Probably yes. But, again, consider context of what I've said. Richard Hobson says, am I mad to be considering bench boost? Dubravka, Wilson, Richards, Alderete. Mad? No. The problem is you don't, truthfully, I think Wilson will play. It sounds like he'll be available. You're gutted if he doesn't though, right? King Plim says, smash a like people, sell Timber for Virgil this week or wait. Will give me a good 11.30. Wait, mate. I don't see that, despite everything about Tottenham, I don't see where Van Dijk is massively better than Timber this week. I know there's a little bit of concern Timber doesn't play. I've still got him in my predicted Arsenal lineup. I explained yesterday on the weekender that I thought the idea of Ndiaye playing on the left again for Everton might influence that. Ronald Kumar says, roll or do Haaland, Goo to Pedro and Thiago. I have all but the triple captainship left. So this is one run like where if you got like 4 or 5 free transfers in the bank, I quite like that. If you've only got 2, it concerns me. That's reality. That's where I'm at. I am Ross Kenny says, have Haaland, Thiago, Pedro up top. Would you change one for Ekiteke for one of these for -4? If I was to then captain him up the pod, hit a follow and thumbs up for a hit. No. Gareth says, hi James, play Senesi or O'Reilly. Slight preference with Senesi actually this week, just because of a little bit of concern about O'Reilly and minutes and the quick turnaround. Again, shout out for our patrons. If you've got anything in terms of team news, please do drop me a tag on Slack. We'll share it with the community here. Do double check sources. Van der Sar says best 2 defenders for next 2 game weeks. Might need 2 for the next game week. For just the next 2, I would say Van Dijk and Joachim Anderson, but Joachim Anderson is a difficult buy. You want something a bit more reliable for minutes. I don't even hate something like Joe Rodon, but I realise that might be conflicting with assets you may have from Palace or Brentford. Dragon Tales says Munoz, Gay, Gabriel, Virgil, Hill. Which 2 to bench? Very reluctantly, Gay and Hill. I just would not be benching Daniel Munoz, mate. Anton Phillips says what to do with Munoz. Have Timber, Gabriel, Chalobah, and Senesi playing. Tangerine says, another week I'll roll as I could bench boost if I had certainty, but I'll inevitably get ordered wrong. Rayan and Dewsbury Hall not on benching dilemmas. I'm starting Rayan, Wilson and Munoz over Hill, Alderete and Dewsbury Hall agree. Yes, I agree. Good. Manish says, Tavernier or Elliot Anderson to buy if free hitting in 33 and wild carding in 35. Tavernier, yeah. Bobby says, would you bench boost Dubravka, Rogers, Joachim Anderson, Alderete? No. I think Joachim Anderson will play, but it's a think. Yahia says, hi James, what would your chip strategy be for someone with no wild card and all their other chips and 3 City, 3 Arsenal and 1 Wolves, 2 free transfers? What would your strategy be for someone with no wild card and all their other chips? You got 3 City, 3 Arsenal. Strategy would be don't feel that you have to have 11 for 31. Pray that City and Arsenal double in 33 and 3 hit 34. That's it. James Brennan says, hi James, have Raya and Rose as keepers. 1 free transfer. Do I fix Rose or just pray Raya's kid doesn't turn up this weekend? Cheers, mate. Yeah, look, I'd leave it. I'd leave it be personally, mate. Shani Russell says, noggin rub to bring us luck from the FPL gods, please, Jimbo, and have a belting weekend, you legend. You too, mate. DJ Charles says, hi, James. Hope you had a good week. I can't afford Ekiteke without selling Haaland. I'm thinking Rice out for Szoboszlai. Thanks. Wouldn't bother, mate. Calvin Morgan says, Wagwan, James. Start 2, please, out of Rogers, Wilson, DCL. Cheers, brother. Wilson and DCL. Dragon Tail says, Munoz, Gay, Gabriel, Virgil here. I think I've already done that one. Thomas Thornton says, how do? Good luck this week. Need to bench one of Thiago, Haaland, Sade, Rayan, Szoboszlai, Wirtz. Thinking Sade or Rayan. Also, would you start Hill or Alderete? Hill over Alderete, and yes, reluctantly Rayan. Scoja says, Morgan Giswhite and Szoboszlai or Anderson and Wirtz for the next few games. Probably Anderson and Wirtz, mate. Rolls says, hi James, you've given me the whole team. Bench boost, or who would you bench? I'm just scanning. Yeah, Joachim Anderson's a potential problem there, mate. If he doesn't start, it's potential same as the West Ham game and he might not come on, right? That's enough to put me off. Otherwise, looks great, mate. Otherwise, looks great. In terms of benching, yeah, he would be one. Probably Elliot Anderson. And in the other, take your picks, Senesi or Gay, mate. C. Fusser says, hi James, 1 free transfer. Front 3 is Haaland and, excuse me, Strand Larson, Ekiteke. If Haaland is benched, should I bring in Thiago or Pedro or go with start Rice to have mid of Bruno, Bumo, Rayan, Sade and Rice? I mean, I'd play Rice over Rayan anyway, mate, personally. Look, if there's calamity that he's benched, then yes. Yes, but don't be tempted into the -4, mate. Richok says, is Sanchez a must sell? Well, it depends. Which your other goalkeeper? If it's Dubravka, I think you've got to ask yourself if you want to waste a transfer on a goalkeeper over a couple of weeks. I've actually got him predicted start today, Robert Sanchez. So that would be as per the weekender yesterday. My advice to people with Sanchez, as long as you have another goalkeeper, Dubravka, Sarr, Darlow, whatever that is, start him and just leave it be. The Scar says, hi James, good luck this week, mate. Would you start Rice or Harry Wilson this week? Rest of midfield, Ram, Bruno, Dango. I'd go Rice definitely first. The decision actually for me would be Wilson versus Rayan. I think I probably would go Rayan over Wilson, just because of the little doubts about Wilson. Pierre Vusen says, hi James, which two of Hill, Wilson, Rayan, Rogers would you play? Wilson, Rayan. Jan Longcar says, hi James, would you bench boost Dubravka, Elliot Anderson, Maguire, Joachim Anderson? You already know the answer. Joachim Anderson's a problem there, mate. Again, I think he'll play, but that's a problem for a bench boost. Taylor says, Raya was at the team hotel this morning, by the way. That's good. His missus has just gone into labour. What's he going to do? I'm just saying, right? Let's say the phone goes. He's off for me. I'm just giving you a hypothetical here. I'm sure David Raya will probably play. Dido says, hi James, wildcard already used. Is this worth bench boosting? Dubravka, Hill, Krupi, Stack? No. Hollandaise Hawk says, would you play Munoz over Szoboszlai, Anderson or Hill? Anderson. Gamer says, Haaland to João Pedro and Rice to Salah for -4. Already have Ekateke. I said it like that because it's in capital letters. No, as explained earlier. You want to make the Haaland to João Pedro move? Okay, leave the other one. W Adventures says, should I start Alderete or transfer Keane or Rogers? 1.5 in the bank, top of mini league, all chips intact, thank you. Yeah, I think, look, Keane is a bin, isn't it? I think Michael Keane is a bin. Sell that, mate. Elliot Sorvik says, hi James, bench Alderete or Maguire, and is the Haaland and Rice to Salah, João Pedro valid if 1 million rank? Look, if you want to take risks, here's the thing, right? Like with this example, let's just use it again to repeat. So Haaland and Rice to Salah and João Pedro. Okay, cool. I don't think the rank matters from that perspective because you might be 20k and you're like, I want to take the risk. And if someone wants to take that risk, it's fine. My role here is only to make you aware of the possibilities. Ultimately, I don't press nobody's buttons. I'll just give the opinion. I don't even press my wife's buttons anymore, right? So you're the ones who's got to press the buttons. I can only give my opinion. Whether you're 1 million or 20k doesn't really make a difference. If you are prepared to want to take the risk on that, go for it. Go for it. It's not for me to say you can't. I won't tell anyone that you can't. I can only stress what my opinion is and answer the questions in front of me. Karen says, Haaland and Rice to Salah and Pedro, worth it for a hit? No. Chad said, start Munoz or Joachim Anderson. Munoz. Delicious. I can afford Rogers and Gu to Ghana or someone and Ekateke. Have Thiago and Haaland. I'm so tortured, but Villa's fixtures just are good until the end of the season. And yeah, you have to factor that in. So Villa, 31 to 36 is amazing fixture schedule, right? So if you're wildcarding in 32 or so, that doesn't particularly matter. If you've used the wildcard and you don't have a free hit as well, then Villa would become like a priority hold of players, I would say, under that sort of circumstance. So what you've got left has a bearing here. The idea of putting Ghana in, I think, is fine. He won't do terrible for you, James Garner. He's been a really good asset for sort of 3 months or so now at his valuation. But yeah, I think what you've got in chips might be kind of definitive here. Gamer, listen, what happens is when people just go in caps lock, I just tend to mute them, and definitely when they just put repeat questions in. So I'll give you the opportunity to delete your question, mate. BT says, start 1, Munoz, Wilson, Rogers, Wilson. Dragon Tail says, Munoz, Gay, Gabriel, Virgil, which two to bench? Gay would be the first one. And I think ultimately I would play Van Dijk over Munoz. Andrew Sands, thoughts on a 2-week Muniz punt? Yes, Fulham. No. Him and his father sadly passed away in the week. But he, as far as I'm aware, he did train as normal on Friday. So I would still expect Jimenez to play. So that's a mad punt, Andrew. It's a no from me. Defo Sharp says, hi James, would you sell Munoz for VVD this week? No. Puts me at 11 for next week, but I have Dallo as cover and wouldn't mind Munoz if he starts. Yeah, you're answering your own question, mate. Ked W says, I hope you're well, James. Are there any grounds you're looking forward to in the championship if you go under? Always appreciate your good vibes and big-hearted approach to life. Thanks a lot. Cheers, mate. I mean, it would have been Sheffield Wednesday, but I'm not going to get that till the year after, am I? Ones that I haven't done: Millwall, Bristol City, Portsmouth. I think there might be one more of the teams not fighting relegation. I think I looked and it was 5. I think Oxford I haven't done. They've had a couple of really good results, actually. Oxford might get themselves out of trouble now. So I think probably Bristol City, I think. I've never been to Bristol either. So, and there's a bit of a community there, actually, of FPL managers in Bristol. So I'd probably say Bristol City, probably. Red Wagona says, start Rayan or Enzo. Thanks, James. Rayan just on a fixture a little bit, I think. Leap Crew says, hey James, how would you rank these for this week? Munoz, O'Reilly and Elliot Anderson. Cheers, mate. In the order that you've written them, mate. Yeah, gamer, that's annoying. Richard Hobson says, what do you think the chances are of Spurs surprising tomorrow with a strong performance? Like none. Yeah, I'm not saying Tottenham can't fluke a result tomorrow, but you're asking me to they're going to put in a strong performance. I can't see it, mate. I can't see it. I'm looking forward to having a drink with David before the game. That's about it. Attaboy says, play Goodmanson or transfer Van der Ven out. Money not a problem. Best defender transfer. Own Gabriel, Senesi, Chalobah. Yeah, I don't know what you've got in the bank. Look, playing Goodmanson is okay. With Mickey, I suppose, being serious, if I removed myself, again, it depends a little bit on your strategy. Tottenham actually sit top of my Teco game weeks 31 to 34, believe it or not. It's worth saying Forest, West Ham also pretty decent runs over those game weeks, by the way. Van der Ven at home to Forest, yeah. You were never going to start him this week anyway, were you? That's a reality, isn't it? You were never going to start him this week anyway. Would he be the worst asset for next week? Could have a manager, different manager. I'd probably leave it. Being serious, easy to laugh, why have you got him? I probably would leave it at the moment. I don't think playing Goodmanson this week is terrible. So yeah, probably more information, probably more important to you at this moment. Cold Palmer says, thoughts on João Pedro captain? I think he probably will start, but I don't think that's 100%. I'd probably maybe marginally higher probability than Haaland, and I guess so, as it's a transfer that could be under consideration for me in the next 10 minutes, although very unlikely. I wouldn't go the armband route on it, though, personally. Again, shout out for our patrons. Drop me a tag on Slack if we've got anything in terms of any news, in terms of leaks. Again, not expecting anything today with Manchester City not playing until 8 o'clock. As close to a leak as I've heard is someone saying on here that David Raya was at the hotel this morning, which obviously normally he would be. Jay Lee says 4:30 kickoff during Ramadan with games in short succession is really tough. I've tried playing this Ramadan and it's been really tough. Can't see him getting more than 70 minutes, if that. So, look, I don't know the numbers on Salah historically during Ramadan periods. I mean, I've got to be honest, say I don't know when it ends either. But I'm sure there's plenty of times Mo Salah's played 90 minutes over this period, and obviously it's something that he will have become accustomed to. Urus Milicevic says, if we get news of Haaland benching, sell for Ekiteke or João Pedro, preference Ekiteke. Andy says, hi James, start Wilson, Stack or Chalobah. Wilson. Somi says, 5-3 transfers and need to use one. Already used triple captain. Team is for Bruggen, Timber, Gabriel, VVD, Timber, Rogers, Bruno, Rayan, Rice, Haaland, Ekiteke, Thiago, Forts. I think my favourite, Forts. I'd move, arguably, because you're forced, because you've got 5-3 transfers. I can't see what other There's a defender missing from that. In fact, you've written Timber twice as well. So good that you've written him twice. That's possibly the one. It's just to move him out. Only because you're forced. Tom Sleeman says, bench one from Stack, Scott, Wilson, Cunha. Probably Stack. Luke Van Nallis says, afternoon, James. All chips left. Would you swap Enzo and Gay out for Dango and VVD? No. No, Dango was go and get a few weeks ago. It's just something to think about, right? You've just held Enzo Fernandez, and I know you did all right at Villa. You've held him through Arsenal away and Villa away, and now he's got a decent home fixture. Now I think they're moving him. It feels like something you want to do because you want to get VVD more than Dango. Therefore, I don't think it's worth it. David Passamar says, start Richards or Wilson. Andrew Jackson, bench boost. Saar, Munoz, Rayan and Hill. No wild card left. What if Munoz struggles in training today? That's what Oliver Glasner said. Jesse said, yeah, I expect him to be available as long as he trains okay on Saturday. Now, I would assume he'd play. I'd gut you if he doesn't. He's strong though. Also, actually, Jose Sarr is a doubt as well, isn't he? Missed the Liverpool FA Cup game, had a bit of an ankle knock. Again, expectation be available, but there's enough there that it's a no for me, unfortunately, Andrew. Jimmy Mickey D says, hello, mate. Need to sell a Man City player to field 11 in 31. Rob O'Reilly for a Brentford defender. Wise question. Or should I roll and do it next week? Basically asking if you think O'Reilly starts. I've got him in my predicted City lineup. I'd leave it be. Mr. Mini Daniel says 2 frees. Chalobah and Krupi to Ekiteke and Goodmanson. Yeah, I can't give you a solid reason no on that, really. Thomas Thornton says, how come you think Semenyo won't play? Let me clarify that. I haven't got him in my predicted lineup, and that's because I think there's probably a desire to give Marmoush some minutes. And so I thought about, okay, it could be all 3. There's no guarantee that Marmoush starts, and it could even be that Marmoush starts in midweek. And just when I factored that in, and I thought if Pep goes with the same structure today, I could see Semenyo missing out. So in terms of probability of Semenyo starting, I would put that well in excess of 50%, right? But I'll come on here and I'll put what my predicted lineup is. And my prediction is that I think he may be a substitute. That's it. Look, with that in mind, I've still got him sitting in my team. Okay? And that's not going to change unless someone tells me in the next 5 minutes, oh, he is definitely a sub, by the way. FPL Velvet says, what's your thoughts on Timber, Semenyo possibly being benched? I have 0 Liverpool on those 2. VVD or Szoboszlai, I call him, but feels like such a risk selling without info. So I've just spoke about Semenyo. Timber clarified what I said earlier in the stream, that I think that he probably does play, and that'll be factored in by the fact that I think that Arteta will think and Dyer will play on the left, and therefore he'll want Timber to play. Mark says, bench 1 from Dango, Elliot Anderson, Harry Wilson. Elliot Anderson reluctantly. Jigsaw Kid says, should I bench boost with Senesi, Krupi, Rodon, Dubravka? No for me. Old England Patriot, what set and forget keeper to move to, James? Both my keepers are red flagged. Both are red flagged. Okay. Again, how long do you need it for? Right, if you're saying I've got no wild card, no free hit left, like Emi Martinez would be a strong candidate, actually. If you're just looking for a couple of weeks, like so the 2 weeks, Leno, maybe. Petrovic, another option for Bruggen as cheaper. It's okay. Cole Darlow, you could maybe take a chance on, right? So it depends how long you're looking for, but probably within that group of players. Brown and Man says, hi James, cheers for the great content. I'm planning to sell Rice and Cherky for 31. I have 5 blankers. Is it better to go early to avoid price changes or wait and see? Sorry if I've already covered it. It's definitely wait and see. That's a strong advice to everybody, right? Like the European fixtures are really important this week. Really important for not just, understanding if City Palace could go into 31, but also in terms of potential spacing later on, the rearrangement of fixtures, 34, 33. Don't go early this week, please. Please don't chase the prices. Information at this stage of the season has to be king. Aura Barales says, should I play Harry Wilson or Krupi? I'd go Harry Wilson. Andrew Sands, what's white and can't climb trees? Tottenham Hotspur. What No Graphics says, thank you, mate. Georgie, should I replace Krupi to... Thanks, Iceman. Love you, mate. Georgie says, should I replace Krupi to Evan Nilsson or just roll? I wouldn't be going Evan Nilsson. Yeah, roll. Flemoon says best Brighton defender, Van Heck. Vishal Brani says, hi James, any news on Gap, however, starting, thinking to do Bumo to either one of them thoughts, wouldn't bother, I'd leave that be, mate. Jerome McD says Jockey Manderson or Elliot Anderson. Probably Elliot Anderson. Antidote says start Bumo, Gay or Senesi. Bumo. Fahad says, hi James, Rice to Verts or Roll. Georgie Barzakov says, would you swap Rodgers for Verts or Haaland for Ekiteke? Haaland for Ekiteke is the same temptations I've spoke about several times on this stream. George Meller says, hi James, would you play Garner or Wilson? Apologies if it's been covered. No problem, mate. Preference would be I'd chase the upside. So for me, that's Harry Wilson, mate. James Drury, the Iceman, is in. Says, hey James, I have no Liverpool 2-3s. I'm looking at Bumo and Mane to 4.5 million plus Ekiteke. No transfers needed. 31 and wildcard 32. Okay, I'd be. What 4.5 mid would you go for? That's fucking burning fire at the moment, isn't it, in midfield? I don't know, man. I don't know. If you're feeling it, sure. Particularly, obviously, if you want to put the armband on Ekiteke, it's justifiable, James. But yeah, just if you're saying you're okay for 31, that's helpful. Do try and pick something that may get minutes, though. FPL Sand says Haaland and Bumo / Rodgers to Ekiteke and Salah cap. I wouldn't do the Salah move. Blub Not says start Elliot Anderson or Semenyo. Rioc says not sure you can get to this in time, but any thoughts on Rice to Cunha or Bumo this week? Just leave it. Alex Martin says, hey James, hope you're well. You mentioned Dango Utara over Tavernier earlier, which surprised me despite Wolves' resurgence. Why? Home. Dango's very capable of going off as well. I think that's very close. Like, if I'd have put Utara on the bench in Dilemmas, he would have sat one place above Tavernier. So I do think it's quite close. So all I'd say to that, Alex, is if you prefer Tavernier, like it's okay. I personally would find myself more forgiving of benching Tavernier in an away fixture than Dango Utara at home to the team, but with a leg. SB says bench Hill or Rodgers. Thanks. I genuinely actually on that this week would play James Hill. Georgie, I'm on a string of reds around 170k overall. Currently want to attack top 10k. Got wildcard bench with 3 hit left. Shall I swap Haaland for Ekiteke and give him the armband this week? Rodgers also on the chopping block. Don't make the second move. If you want to captain Ekiteke, go for it. Hunter type says Brist massive. FPL Punk, if you go down and Blackburn stay up, give us a shout if you make it 3. Listen, if we play Blackburn away, I'll be there, mate. AG says Szoboszlai or Verts for the next 2. Szoboszlai is the safer pick. I'd go Verts. Sammy says, transfer Garner to Tavernier or just start Krupi over Garner. Garner will probably hit DEFCON at Arsenal. And he'll be on set plays. He's not beyond possibility he'd nick you like a 7-pointer or something, you know. But yeah, I would chance Krupi over him, yeah. Browner Man says, bench Boomer Rodgers, cheers. I don't know why that would bench Boomer. Truthfully, I don't know why that would be bench Boomer over Rodgers, personally. Neil Kager says, thanks, James, from snowy Ottawa. Hit the like, folks. Thank you, Neil. Stay warm, mate. I see you all the time. Thank you, buddy. Ian C says, start Rodgers or stack. Thanks, James. That would be Rodgers. Georgie says, transfer out Krupi to Sesko or Evan Nilsson or roll. I'm Ross Kenny. Who do we think scores more points this week, Haaland or Ekiteke? It's not obvious by this point, no. 88II99 says Rodgers to Tavernier, roll. Just a lot of these going to be rolls. I can feel it at this point. Best Brighton defender is just answer for someone else, Van Heck. Browner Man says not an FPL question, but do you think dropping Xavi deeper and build up would help fix Spurs' passing problems? Yes, a little bit, but concerned about his press resistance back to goal at the moment. Too much time being taken on decision making. But yes, possibly. Is it going to happen? No. Needs to be more like a 4-3-3, and then you could make it work. Aaron Vington says start one of Wilson, O'Reilly, Enzo. Wilson for me over that. No, it's probably Enzo a home advantage over Wilson just about. Thank you, Jay Tasker. CRS says, hi James, best of luck this week. Start Pickford or Dubravka. I would just chance Burnley nicking a 1-0, which is more likely than Everton, so Dubravka. Georgie says start Hill, got Senesi or Rodgers. Would I pick Hill over Senesi? Probably not. No, I'd probably go Senesi over Hill, I think. Anshu says start Richards or Alderete. Probably Richards, just about. More likely Defcon, I would say, after 2 this weekend. Chelsea Stew says bench Hill or O'Reilly. I would start Hill, generally. I nearly said O'Reilly. I meant Hill. Georgie says, thanks for your advice, James. Have a great game week. You too. Zach Berry says, Haaland to Etty using one of my 2 free transfers. That's okay. White City Roller, bench one of Hill, Timber, Rice or Krupi. Already starting Gabriel, Krupi. Alex Martin, cheers, James. Love your stuff. Top content, fair play. Utara at home over Tavernier, done. Thanks again. Play it your way, Alex. That's important. It's a close decision. If you fancy it the other way, you go the other way, buddy. Kevin Orpen says, start DCL or Rogers. DCL, we think he'll play. Daniel Farke sounded confident. Andrew, I don't know why you messaged me that 8 minutes before deadline. I have no context to what that means whatsoever. I love you, buddy. I am Romeo says, Enzo or Rogers. Enzo. We are 2 minutes to deadline, guys. Make sure you're getting locked in. There is nothing, as far as I can see, in terms of team news knocking about. 2 minutes to deadline, guys. It'd be less than that now. Probably about 1 minute and 5 seconds, actually. Which means I'm rolling, guys, for clarity. This isn't, James going to stitch something. I'll do a transfer late. No one wants to copy my team. No one's got my team. No one should be doing that. Right, we're in. I mean, you're all covered, by the way. All the questions are covered. So we got there. Interesting Saturday afternoon. Oh, looks like FPL's page might have shut down. No, it's open. Pick team, checked. Ekateke's captain. Yeah, still there. Seconds to deadline, guys. Do be getting yourselves locked in. Daniel Mackey, if Slot leaves this summer and we don't see him in England again, how does his career compare to other managers who won the Premier League only once? As one of only 2 managers to win the Premier League for Liverpool, so it will favour well. User says, I did Rice to Verts. Good luck. Harry B says, yes, James, thanks for the stream. How would you rate the 4 new striker signings of João Pedro, Ekateke, Sesko and Gyökeres in terms of who you rate the most? Ekateke top for me. I think Sesko's got great potential. At the moment, you've written him, but Ekateke over João Pedro for me. I really like Hugo Ekateke. I mean, João Pedro's done very well for Chelsea, by the way, and possibly better than many have expected. That is deadline gone, by the way, guys. It is 1:30 p.m. UK time. If anybody's got any non-FPL questions, smash them in the chat. I'll cover a few off for 10 or 15 minutes or so. If you came just for the FPL stuff, smash a like, hit the sub button. Remember, the Game Week 31 deadline is on Friday. Therefore, the deadline stream will be at 5:30 p.m. UK time. Plenty more content to come this week. Game review podcast with myself and Suj on Monday. 2 Clash of Correspondence for you this week. Tuesday's Everton versus Chelsea with Sean Norton, Gary Mansell. Wednesday's Tottenham Hotspur versus Nottingham Forest with Ricky Saunders and Mark Southerns. Ask James on Thursday. Be around lunchtime UK time, but time to be confirmed. Weekender with myself and David on Friday, where we'll obviously give clear updates following whatever happens in terms of all the European fixtures, and we'll discuss key events, etc. If you would like to, if you can, support the show, we'd love your support on Patreon. www.patreon.com/PlanetFPL. Basic tier will get you no ad content. Basic Plus will get you access to our Slack community with over 800 other paying patrons. Also get you access to my planner via Slack as well. And you'll get an additional podcast every week. All the podcasts are available from Intermediate Plus tier and Advanced tier. There's additional stuff such as Nico's Corner, the Team News stream, Talking Tactics, Midweek FPL Dilemma, away days from Liverpool this week at Anfield. As yes, I'll be there for my sins again tomorrow. If you'd like to, or if you can, support the show. www.patreon.com/PlanetFPL. Patreon podcast next week, by the way. Q&A Monday, UCL Fantasy Tuesday, Wednesday. I think Ricky's going to do a quiz for me. Ricky Saunders, I think, on Wednesday. Thursday be Tottenham after Tottenham's game Wednesday night. And then our Game Week 31 preview, the differential show on Friday. Advanced tier content, as said, this week will include away days at Liverpool, Nico's Corner, Midweek Dilemma, one more to be confirmed, and the Team News stream on Friday afternoon. Plus, there'll be a Zoom call with myself, which advanced tier patrons are welcome to join. Time to be confirmed when the schedule gets released on Monday morning. Right, that's the spiel done. Let's see what we've got in terms of your questions. Make it fun. My life is shit. My life isn't shit. Just my football team is shit. DLG says, what is your favourite summer fruit to have? Look at me. Do I look like much of a fruit guy, mate? Apple. Don't mind a kiwi in the summer, I suppose, maybe. Sorry, I've missed a load of questions out. I will go backwards. Gavin says, non-FPL. Bristol is a great city. If you don't go down, it's worth a visit anyway. If you go down, will you be looking forward to a Leicester sausage roll since you missed out last time? Very much so. Yep. Best sausage roll in the country, Leicester City's. Ian from Melbourne says, hi James, who did your dad enjoy watching more, Waddle, Gazza or Hoddle? Up the shrimpers and hit that like. A Hoddle, because of longevity, I think means more. I think. And I think you have a bias to the ones that you love first a little bit as well. I just think that's normal for people. So I would say probably Hoddle would be the answer to that. Could put a ball on a sixpence. That's what the man would say. And you could throw that sixpence 60 yards away. I am Romeo says, thank you, James, for your content. Your dedication is inspiring. Thank you, mate. Appreciate that. Have a good weekend. Thank you, Mark Byrne, as well. Jigsaw Kid says, I started Rodgers over Wilson and my cooked. Yep, dead, mate. Dead. Big red arrow incoming this week, mate. Big red arrow. It'd probably 2-1 to Rodgers, wouldn't it? Probably. D-Tav says, are you expecting a reaction from City this afternoon? They usually do well against West Ham, as does Haaland. This afternoon, no. Tonight, maybe. I think that the absence of Somerville was a big blow for West Ham, as per the predicted lineup that's been going around. I think West Ham might go for a back five, more of like 5-3-2 today. I think the Somerville absence, I think, gives City the edge that you would expect them to have. But West Ham go into the game, I don't want to say with nothing to lose, but there are more important fixtures after, I think, for West Ham, that they've got to deal with the ones that are very realistic to win. It's not that they can't get a result against City. I'm sure it'll be a good atmosphere there tonight. I'm not looking forward to it, let me tell you that. User says, good luck, everyone. Dilgy, I did the summer fruit. Will Mercer, thanks for the stream change, mate. Any punts for UCL Fantasy this week? Oh, God. I mean, I regret going Musiala over Elise in midweek. I can tell you that. But at least did hit the captaincy on Alvarez. Any punts this week? What's the early game? Sporting Bodo, isn't it? The thing is, you punt like a Sporting player because they're chasing goals. They're still highly likely going out. And even if they do go through, it's like they're walking into Arsenal most likely. So don't love that. So might be trying to make a read or two on the Bayern Munich team. So maybe if Elise's out, I mean, does Luis Diaz play or not? I'm not sure. I think Kane will play for Munich. Again, do you chase after City assets? I don't think. I mean, I've got Semenyo, Haaland, so I'd leave that. Difficult to say. Maybe an Arsenal attacker even. Maybe. More Atletico. I only put 3 in. Ian Everett says, hello, mate. As a Chelsea fan, I wanted to laugh on Tuesday, but genuinely felt so sorry for Kinski at the time and couldn't. What were your thoughts in the ground at the time, seeing him getting subbed? It's a bit of a blur in that moment because you're seeing something that's very unusual, right? I can't think of an occasion where a goalkeeper's been substituted that early in a game because of errors. So in that moment, yeah, I just felt for the lad, truthfully. As I said on the weekend of yesterday, and as I said on Tottenham when I got back on Wednesday afternoon on Patreon, I probably wouldn't have subbed him, but I understand some of the logic behind it. At that moment, he ain't done anything on purpose. He's just made mistakes and errors. For a goalkeeper, he's very young. For a goalkeeper at 22, it's almost kind of like equivalent of an 18-year-old. You don't get many 22 goalkeepers play. I spoke about that on the weekend of yesterday. So at that moment, yeah, look, he's not done it because he ain't tried or anything. He's made an error. I felt a little bit bad about what I said on the weekend of last week, that unfortunately he'd play and everybody would probably quickly realise that Vicario has to play in goal. I wish it hadn't happened under these circumstances. But it was also the best game for it to happen in. Let's be real. No chance in that competition. So yeah, felt for the lad. Mixed feelings on whether it was right or wrong decision. I don't think it's black and white like that. Oliver Render, thanks for your thoughts, James. You're very welcome, Oliver. There is nothing worse in my life than someone screenshotting or tagging me to a tweet that's just an image of their team and says false. Do you know what happens when people do that? I don't even look at the team. I couldn't give a shit. So on this stage, move on. Will Mercer says, thanks for the stream, James May. Any punts for UCL? I've done that already, haven't I? Sorry. BT says, non-FPL. If your lot go down, explain consequences in terms of players. Your young lad in Germany, play or sell to Barca buying for big money. Other youngsters look promising like Bergvall. The best thing about relegation would be setting fire to that squad. Because I dislike the majority of them. There are a few younger players like Bergvall, Sarr, Gray in the Championship I'd want to keep hold of. And Luka Vuskovic would certainly fall into that category of player that you'd want to keep. But I think ultimately it would be his decision. Because I think he's obviously shown such progression so quickly in Germany with Hamburg that you would think that playing for a club of Tottenham's size, even in the Championship, would still get good recognition, where if he does well at Tottenham for a few years, that move should still happen for him. Now, it could be that you should take that opportunity as and when it comes. What he'll want to think about, a priority for him was playing, okay, which he's obviously done regularly at Hamburg. If he goes to Barca or Bayern, does he play? I think if he goes there, he'll want assurances on his minutes. Otherwise, I think he'll believe in his ability that day will come back around for him. And the rate that he's progressing, he's going to get that move at some point anyway. Now, that's not me sitting here going, I expect him to play in the Championship. Not at all. And also, obviously, Tottenham would have to look at him as a very sellable asset. But they also have two other centre-backs that are very sellable, and there's no way they'll play in the Championship. Romero's leaving the football club either way in the summer, by the way. And Mickey van der Ven should be sold as well. This is something I said on Tottenham on Patreon months ago. Sold a lot of them. They don't want to be there. So there's not many I'd want to keep. I'd probably want to keep someone like James Maddison, who you would think would do well in the Championship and probably wouldn't get a lot of interest this year because of ACL injury and stuff. Whether Kulusevski would hang around, I think that's probably less likely. But again, there would have to be interest. Maybe he'd be one where he'd need to prove his fitness for till January, and then maybe he goes in January or something. But yeah, the best thing about relegation is that I'll get rid of most of them, mate. And yeah, there are a lot of promising youngsters within the squad. Many of them out on loan. Mikey Moore and Rangers is a player that gets mentioned regularly on these streams. Will Lancashire and Jamie Donnelly both doing all right at Oxford. There's Ashley Phillips at Stoke. A lot of these with even Championship experience. Alfie Devine at Preston. And there's a couple more young kids. Some of you might have briefly seen Janai Byfield when we played Dortmund, who's exceptional young centre-back talent. Luca Williams-Barnett, number 10, who's got real ability, just needs to beef up. He's very young, still only like 17. There's some real good talents. Tottenham invested in a young boy from Ireland, very highly rated, Mason Melia, we haven't seen yet. So, yeah, honestly, that's the best positive over relegation, over staying up, is that I get rid of most of them. Because if we do stay up, if we don't get rid of most of them, we're going to be in this trouble again next year. I'm telling you, and I've told you all this for a very long time, they are not good enough. And finally, it's been seen. All this, I keep hearing it and keep pissing myself laughing. Actually, I don't, because it's not funny. They do have good players. Listen, that squad is not a bottom 3 squad if they're all available, but they're not. That's life. Stannard says, saw a Spurs fan on Sky Soccer Social this morning rank the board as the number 1 issue at your club. Would you agree? Let me sell that a different way. I wouldn't disagree. I think that opinion is absolutely fine. But ultimately, you can have a shit board, and if you've got good footballers, it won't be too much of an issue, will it? But the board is bought incorrectly. I mean, Johan Lange, I'd probably throw out as the biggest problem, because a lot of that recruitment is down to him. His incompetence is different level. Harry B says, who of City or Chelsea are more likely to overturn the 3-0 deficit? City, I think. Yeah. City, I think. But if Madrid couldn't play as well as they did on Wednesday night, they won't. I think there's vulnerabilities in PSG, but I would expect them to still go to Stamford Bridge and have solid amounts of the ball. They've obviously got experience now, etc. look, just PSG very nearly blew a 2-goal lead at Villa Park. You might remember in the quarterfinal last year. So no, I don't think it's not beyond either side. It's not beyond either side. But I would say City's the more likely of the two. Nistable says, thank you, James, for your great content. Non-FPL question. Which position in Spurs team do you think needs to be fixed immediately? And which former Spurs player you wish to revive to his peak to save Spurs? So there's two different answers for that, because there's a staying up scenario and there's a going down scenario. So in an event where we went down, Bergvall, Sarr, Gray, if they stayed at the club, is championship, it's fine. If it stays up, centre midfield. Centre midfield, absolutely. Honestly, Tottenham could just fix a lot of their woes next season by spending a shitload of money on a world-class central midfield player and a world-class goalkeeper alone. And bring in the likes of Vuskovic back and Mikey Moore back, etc., and give them time to develop. A world-class goalkeeper and a world-class central midfield player won't be in trouble next year if we stay up. But their identification of the sort of midfielders they want, Paulinho, Gallagher, doesn't give me much faith that they'll go and sort that out. So it's a different answer for each. Ironically, if we go down, the answer might be right back. Could be. Because I put together, I did this after the Palace game, that night actually, and we will discuss it on the Tottenham at some point. I put together what I've kind of thought the squad would look like next season if we went down with no additions. And right back actually is probably only the real bad gap. I'd be thinking here that Porro and Spence would go. And if you go down, you've just got to start playing Archie Gray in midfield, unless you're going to sell him. So in a weird way, it could end up actually being right back. Again, it depends who would stay and who'd go. But if the club stay up, the biggest priority has to be central midfield. By miles. Vicario's going to go either way as well. So a goalkeeper is going to be the next biggest importance. Jigsaw Kid says, how do you think Spurs will go about the Forest game? We struggle when we have the ball and do quite well without it. Depends who's in charge, mate. It's probably not going to be Igor Tudor. It's beginning to look like. There's been a lot wrong with Tottenham ITKs over the last couple of weeks, but Roberto De Zerbi's name was getting mentioned a lot last night. And that wouldn't be with a view to it being interim. That would be with a view to him being permanently appointed on a longer term contract potentially. Many of you will know I loved his brand of football. That's not the manager that I want now. And it's not even to do with our position, because I just know ultimately that'll blow up again in 18 months and then it'll be someone else. It's truth. And I'd rather stop doing that. And I think the football club is on its knees so badly that Tottenham now, even though I've been against it, I think it's become, I've always been against it from a position of I don't think it can progress us further. I mean, now it's a position it just needs to get us started, which is why with Pochettino, I think that would be the right one. But it's obviously not going to be now. I mean, if we've got De Zerbi, we ain't going low block, are we? So possibly playing Turan's, but we may play very different football. Let's see what happens. DTAF says, missed the stream today, but appreciate all your hard work, putting out all the content you do. Top class. Thank you, mate. Kasim said, did you hear about the Barcelona fan that went to St. James's Park, Exeter? Yes, I did. Not quite sure how that happens, but yeah, I did. Kasim says, I've done. Cam says, afternoon, James. Do you remember it's Mother's Day tomorrow? Yep. I went and took Harry to my boy to see my mum last night. And yes, it's Mother's Day, so I'm doing the only logical thing, going to watch Tottenham get battered in Liverpool. Moon Man says, ever been to Canada, James? Yes. Very long time ago. We're going back 35 years. I had a great aunt who's passed a long time ago now, who lived out in Toronto. We spent 2 weeks out there when I was 7, I think. Niagara Falls done, Toronto, Sky Dome, Blue Jays, all that. And remember little bits of it. Next up is Diljit says, which players in the Spurs squad would you like the club to get rid of in the summer, no matter what happens? Vicario, Spence, Romero, Van der Ven. I'm not going to include loan players like Paulinho. It's a waste of time. Gallagher. Bentancur, if we get a proper midfielder. I said this on Patreon after the Palace game, that I actually think he's the biggest miss at the moment. He's the only one that takes responsibility on the ball. I'm more... I think Rod probably wants an improving on, but he's an improvement on the rest of the shit that I have to watch. Gallagher, what have we done there? Mental. Richarlison. Listen, I like Richie actually in the sense of his effort and stuff like that, but yeah, he'll need to move on realistically. Yeah, a lot of the midfield. Simmons, arguably. I don't think he's going to be it. But the main ones would be Romero, Van der Ven. Yeah, I want them sold either way. I mean, it'd obviously go if we go down. I'm kind of done with Van der Ven's basic defending. Genuinely, as good as a weapon asset he is. I think it's getting worse. So, if there'll be big money for him, take it. It's more that it's if Mickey stays, I do love Mickey. I'm fine with it. But it's more that I know that we'll get good money for Mickey Van der Ven, so sell it. So Mickey probably doesn't fall into that line. There are others. You get a good offer for Porro, sell it. But I like Pedro. If you could keep Destiny Doggy fit, I like Destiny. Doesn't happen often enough. Matisse Tell, you could cut your losses on, or you could hope that it still improves. Tottenham could get significant upgrades on Solanke. Fine. Let it go. Yeah, main one is Romero. It's number one. Next up is KC Wolf. Hi James. With Wolves announcing 25% reduction on season 6 for next season, do you see other relegated teams following suit? So Tottenham announced in midweek they emailed all fans and said that the extension for season ticket renewal was going to be extended by a couple of weeks. Now, my presumption on that is that maybe Tottenham might reduce the pricing if they go down. But I've said previously that I think that there's every chance they go, right, it's the same, but we're going to give you all 23 games, obviously, for the same price. And, it'd be very cheap cup tickets, for example, something like that, to get the kind of the commitment. And then maybe there might even be something like, commit now. You don't have a price rise for 2 years afterwards or something like that. I don't know. So it might change. I know there's a few people saying Tottenham need to say what the price would be if they go down. They're not going to do that, are they? Right. So there might be a scenario where the pricing potentially changes for next year. I don't know the circumstance on Burnley. In Wolves' case, it's pretty clear what's happening. So it's understandable that I think that they've done that. Jay Loveshank says, shout out to Nico and Oni. Shit, it needs to be discussed, but important it is. Yeah, so Nico and Oni Dazia, one of our patrons, did a podcast, Racism and Football, this week on Patrons, available from Basic Tier Plus, which obviously it's one of them, you could go back and listen to at any point. A very important subject, which obviously we've not been able to present it in that guise before because it's presented just from a perspective of two proud black men, right? And I think it's important to hear that side of events rather than me and David Suj can do our best on it, for example. It's not quite the same. So yeah, they did great, and they also put together a nice bit that went out to Advanced and Intermediate Plus, also picking an all-time Premier League 11 of just black players. And that's really good. It was a kind of a nice change of tone from the seriousness to know, yeah, do you know what? These guys could produce some funny content as well. So really, really, really happy with Nico from a perspective of being a colleague, that he took responsibility for what was happening while I was in Madrid and did a great job on it. And Oni is fantastic to listen to as well. And I really appreciate his time. He actually came into the studio and did it here with Nico. So yeah, them boys were brilliant. Thank you to both of them. Thomas Thornton says, have you seen Robbie Fowler's new comedy shorts with all ex and current players? Actually quite funny. No, sorry, can't comment. Gavin says, are you and your dad still on for every game this season still? And does he really talk your ear off on the way home after a loss? Yeah, me and dad didn't say much to each other after the game Tuesday night. It's no point. My father needs to say shit for the sake of saying shit. I'm the opposite. I don't need to say anything afterwards. I just need to get my thoughts together and get on with life. So we're different in that perspective. Plus, obviously, that's my dad's opportunity to chew off someone before he's going to piss my mum off when he gets home, right? Whereas I know I can just spit it on the podcast, right? When I've kind of taken a bit more time over it. Yeah. As David said to me, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow and getting my ear chewed off by your dad. the truth. David knows what's going to happen. Yeah, we're still on for every game. Look, we didn't do Bodo away, but we've done every other European game and every domestic game, and yeah, we're going to see it through. I think so. I don't know if we get relegated before we go to Chelsea, my dad might check that in, but I'll still go. Yeah, be sad to tell the grandkids, wouldn't it? The first time I completed every game, we went down. And I want to do the same next year, although things like Lincoln might be difficult to get tickets, but what I've done this year will put me in a strong position to be able to get one for that sort of thing. Thomas Thornton says, what's your favourite song, and do you think Liverpool get UCL qualification for next season? Sounds like Slot will go either way. Probably yes. Yeah, Liverpool probably will, and yes, I think Xabi Alonso will be Liverpool's manager next year. Jimmy Mickey D says, I live in Costa Rica, so wondering if you have any memories of Costa Rican players in the Premier League over the years. Against Tottenham, one shot's goal against Man United is the biggest moment. Remember that? Yeah, of course. That would have been, I want to say 96, 97. I might be a year out there, maybe. But no, I think that's right. 96, 97. About April time. Fantastic goal at the Stretford end. He was a decent player, one shot. Arsenal had a boy, didn't they, as well? His first name's escaped me. Campbell. What was his first name? Joel? Was it Joel Campbell? Can't remember now. I can't think of too many others. In all honesty, I'm sure there has been more. I feel like there was someone played QPR that's escaping me. George Z says, just out of curiosity, kept Rodgers through all blanks as of now. Okay. I wish you luck. I can't bother to do FPL anymore now, mate. Do I see him getting going? Yeah, every chance. Yeah, great. Mark Raven Mad says, have you heard much from Everton fans about their experience moving to a new stadium this season after leaving such a historic ground? So, look, it's never going to be the same. I met Sean before the game when we went up there. It's a cracking stadium. I think they like it. What they're realising is that the atmosphere is not the same. They've got to drive things, I think, to improve that. But it's not an Everton problem. That's a problem that's happened to my club, Arsenal, City, so many clubs who've moved into modernised stadiums. Georgie says, non-FPL question, what do you think Spurs might struggle with most tomorrow? It'd be easier, mate, for me to list the things that they might do okay at tomorrow. Time wasting efforts I would expect to improve a little bit. What do I think Tottenham struggle with most tomorrow? Look, if he sets the team up in the same way that he has done in most of the games, although it wasn't as heavy against Palace, if he sets the team up in man-to-man all over the pitch, that's what they're going to struggle with the most. It'll be brutal. Now, if he doesn't do that, it might be a different football match. Not to the extent of I think we'd get something, but it might become more of a horrible game for Liverpool, right? We'll see. Ian from Melbourne says, is the Championship away tickets set price all different? No, probably end up paying more. All the Premier League away tickets are capped at £30. In the Championship, I imagine, like, if we go down, we're going to be most expensive ticket for all the clubs. So I imagine we'll be regularly paying sort of 40, 45, I think. Most likely. It's understandable. Doesn't feel right, but it's understandable. Johnny says, James, requesting the noggin rub. Been a rough go for me of late. Good luck, like friends. Johnny, DM's open. If you need anything, you give me a shout, mate. You have a good weekend. I will cover the rest of the questions. Let's just get some clarity on the team news that's in for the 3 PMs. So I'll start with Burnley. Hartman's back in the team. Walker, Humphries, Estev, Hartman, Lawrence. So he'll be back for or back 3. Wood-Prowse starts. Hannibal, Anthony, Fleming, and Foster. Interestingly. Bournemouth, Petrovic, Adam Smith at right back. Hill, Senesi, Truffer, Christie, Scott, Rayan, Krupi starts. Tavernier, Evan Nilsson. Yeah, that's why, I mean, majority of people were asking about Krupi. I again, wouldn't forgive myself. Bollocks, I've benched him and he's playing. Sunderland, Elborg, Hume, Ballard, Alderete, Gertruda, Xhaka's back in the team, Siddiqui, start for Rig, Diarra, Talby, and Brobby. He's back in the lineup as well. For Brighton, Itoma hasn't made it, so it's for Bruggen, Vifa, Van Heck, Dunk, Kadioglu, Milner, Gross, Minter, Hinshelwood, Gomez, and Welbeck. Okay, who's next? LVB, might be IVB, sorry. Says, I think Premier League teams need to trust their young players more instead of spending millions on average players. Barca did it with Yamal last year. Madrid with Pitach versus City. Bayern with Carl. Yeah, the only problem is, my friend, that these are exceptional talents that you're mentioning here, right? Exceptional. So I could say, Williams Barnett, he's not ready. Okay? He's not ready. He won't be ready in the Premier League next year either, I don't think. Championship might be. So you're right, but these aren't great examples because you're kind of talking here. Pitach, I've not seen enough, obviously seen the other night. But Cole, I saw play against Tottenham in friendly last year. Yeah. And Yamal already win like international titles 2 years ago, right? So these are exceptional talents. Jigsaw Kid says, good luck for the game. May the worst team lose. That'll be us, mate. Kasim says, do you think it is worth going down due to the changes it would trigger? No, because it sets the club back years in terms of its ambitions. Let's be real. If Tottenham stay up and they completely overhaul the squad with no European competition next year, Tottenham could very quickly put themselves back in contention for European positions. Quite quickly. Obviously, it needs a squad overhaul. Right, going down is not better than that. Can't be. But yeah, if most of the squad stays, it's not good enough. There isn't a scenario we're going down that all I'm doing is I'm preparing myself, right, mentally, and trying to look for positives. And the best positive of going down is, we'll set fire to most of the squad. But it's not worth it. Diljit says, have you seen the new Louis Theroux documentary? If so, what did you think? Can't comment. Don't even know what it's about, mate. Zuram says, really sorry to see the injuries at Spurs. You and me both. It's 18 months now. I'm well used to it, mate. Louis saying, yes, it was Joel Campbell. I couldn't think. Greg says, who was the Costa Rican Everton fullback? Oviedo? Was he the Costa Rican one? Sweet Blues is saying Gamboa question. Archime Blum, holy moly, that's a strong 11 with a strong bench as well, James. How should we think about Saka going forward? For fantasy, we ain't got a fixture next week, so let's part that. Greg's saying Brian Oviedo. Yeah, there you go. Sweet Blues. Kaylan Navas played for Forest in the most random transfer. Of course he did. Forest had so many goalkeepers, though, it's easily forgettable. User says tripled up Liverpool. Sweet Blues. Gamboa played for West Brom, not Everton. User says, who stays and who goes if Spurs go down? I feel like I've literally answered this question 10 minutes ago, mate. Anurag Mishra says, Captain Gakpo this week. Good luck, everyone. And there you go. There's probably your highest scoring player this week. Kasim says, being broke was the best thing in recent years to happen to Barca. We went back to our philosophy. You didn't go down to Segunda, though, did you? Reality. Possibly should have. We've done that podcast before. Right, okay. Lots of love. Smash a like. hit the sub button. Thomas Thornton, you're very welcome. Thank you, mate. Thank you for everybody else. Smash a like, hit the sub button. I hope you all have a great weekend. See you for the Game Review Pod on Monday. Ciao for now, everyone.